Tale of Sundari, a profound lesson on karma and liberation. In ancient times, when Benares, Varanasi, was a precious gem in the heart of India, there lived a courtesan of unparalleled beauty named Sundari. Her beauty not only moved the hearts of men, but also commanded the admiration of nature itself. Her eyes were as deep as autumn lakes, her skin as fair as the full moon, and her smile as radiant as the dawn, dispelling darkness. But among all her beautiful features, her hair was truly a masterpiece of creation. Sundari's jet-black hair was long and lustrous, flowing like a silver stream in the moonlight. As she walked, her hair swayed in alluring curls, coiling into two thick braids, as if two loving hands were caressing her fair skin. Every graceful step Sundari took was a dance, and her hair was like a mysterious black curtain, both concealing and evoking the imagination of those who beheld her. Sundari's magnificent beauty not only attracted admiring glances from men, but also aroused bitter jealousy in the hearts of other women. They whispered behind her back, their venomous words like poisoned arrows aimed at the tender heart of the beautiful courtesan. But Sundari, with her pure soul and kind heart, continued to smile and treat everyone with kindness, unaware of the dark plot brewing to destroy her exquisite beauty. In the darkness of the night, when the moon still shyly hid behind clouds, a group of women met in secret. They plotted to destroy Sundari's beauty. With glittering gold coins, they bribed Ratna, Sundari's closest maid. Ratna, her heart clouded by greed, accepted a small vial of poison capable of destroying Sundari's magnificent hair. On a sultry afternoon, as the sun lingered on the horizon, Sundari prepared to bathe in the sacred Ganges River. Ratna, with trembling hands and a conflicted heart, skillfully mixed the poison into the fragrant bathing powder. When Sundari entered the bathroom, without a hint of suspicion, she applied the mixture to her hair, massaging it thoroughly to the roots. Ratna stood silently in the corner of the room, a sense of guilt welling up inside her, but it was too late to turn back. With a radiant smile on her lips, Sundari gently glided into the cool waters of the Ganges. The crystal-clear water embraced her graceful form, as if to soothe the weariness of life. But then, a horrifying scene began to unfold. As soon as the water touched her hair, each lustrous black strand began to fall out, floating away with the current like delicate black silk threads. Sundari, at that moment, was unaware of the tragedy befalling her. In an instant, Sundari's proud mane was bare, smooth as a freshly picked bitter gourd. When she realized what was happening, she screamed in horror, her agonizing cry echoing across the riverbank. Pain and humiliation flooded her soul, as if the entire world had just collapsed beneath her feet. Sundari thrashed about, trying to catch the locks of hair floating away, but they had dissolved into the water, like dreams shattering into foam. Sundari now looked pitiful, like a plucked pigeon, with only her pale white skin remaining. With a scarf covering her head, she silently left the river, tears streaming down her face. Each step she took seemed to carry the weight of the world, and her heart was shattered like broken mirror shards. Sundari dared not enter the city, where just hours ago she had been a queen of beauty, admired by all. In the pitch-black night, Sundari quietly left the city of Benares, seeking a secluded place to hide. She chose a small cave at the edge of the forest, where only the rustling wind and birdsong kept her company. As time passed, the pain gradually subsided, but the wound in Sundari's heart still bled. She learned to accept her new fate, finding meaning in life's simplest things. To make a living, Sundari began learning the trade of pressing oil from sesame seeds and brewing liquor. Each day, she sat beside fragrant oil barrels and pungent wine jugs, her once ivory hands now calloused from labor. In quiet moments, Sundari silently remembered her glorious past. But gradually she realized that true beauty lies not in hair or skin, but in the soul and how one lives. And this was the beginning of a new journey, a journey to discover the beauty within herself. In the thick darkness of the late night, when the weak crescent moon barely illuminated the eerie tree shadows, Sundari silently walked along the deserted road. Her heart pounded, her hands trembling as her eyes fell upon three drunken men sleeping soundly by the roadside. Beside them, on a low branch, their garments hung invitingly. Sundari closed her eyes and took a deep breath. For a moment she felt utterly pathetic, having to stoop so low just to obtain a piece of cloth to cover herself. But then, desperation and anger at her fate welled up again, compelling her to act. With cat-like steps, she approached the tree branch. Her hands, once praised as the most skilled in Benares, now shook as they touched the coarse fabric. With the garment safely in her possession, Sundari hastily fled into the shadows, her heart pounding with fear and shame. She told herself this was the only way to survive, to exact revenge on a life that had stripped her of her proud beauty. Yet deep in her soul, she knew she had fallen, lost her last shred of dignity. But then, like a ray of light piercing through the thick darkness, fate smiled upon Sundari. One early morning, when the first sunbeams were still shy behind the trees, she encountered a holy monk walking leisurely on the trail near her cave. He, in his simple saffron robe, exuded an otherworldly serenity that stirred Sundari's hardened heart. Without hesitation, she approached the holy monk, bowing her head respectfully and inviting him to visit her humble dwelling. With hands once accustomed to preparing elaborate dishes in the city, she quickly made a cake from chestnuts mixed with sesame oil, the only delicacy she could manage in her current circumstances. As she offered the cake to the holy monk, Sundari felt an unusual warmth spreading through her heart. The holy monk, with eyes full of boundless compassion, accepted the cake and ate it, even though he knew it was made by hands that were not entirely pure. This act, simple yet noble, touched the depths of Sundari's calloused soul. When the holy monk finished his meal, Sundari stood beside him, her heart overflowing with unprecedented joy. She held a simple parasol made from palm leaves, shading him from the sun. In that moment, she felt cleansed, uplifted by an invisible force. The elder, moved by her sincere heart, spoke words of appreciation for her merit and departed, leaving in Sundari's soul a new hope, a small flame of faith just ignited. That night, under the starry sky, Sundari sat before her cave, gazing towards the distant horizon. With a heart full of faith and hope, she uttered a wish from the depths of her being. May I be blessed with black hair, smooth and glossy, soft as silk, beautifully coiled. The wish echoed in the silent space like a promise of fate for a brighter future, a new life full of meaning. As time passed, Sundari continued to live a secluded life, but her soul had found peace. She learned to love herself and those around her, regardless of their nature. And when her final moment came, she departed serenely, with a gentle smile on her lips. But Sundari's story did not end there. Thanks to her good deeds, especially the act of offering food to the holy monk with all her heart, she was reborn in a magnificent golden palace in the middle of the vast ocean. Her hair, as if by a miracle, had been restored exactly as she had wished, black, glossy as silk, and long down to her heels. However, fate still had final lessons for Sundari. Because of her past sin of stealing others' clothes, she had to endure being naked, with only her long hair to cover her body. Each day that passed in that golden palace, Sundari felt both happy for having her wish granted and ashamed for having no clothes. This was a profound lesson about karma, about how each action has its consequences, whether good or bad. And so, Sundari kept being reborn in that golden palace, enduring the shame for an entire lifetime. But in every moment, she remembered the lesson of compassion and forgiveness that the holy monk had taught her. She understood that no matter how many more lives she had to go through, she would always keep the flame of faith and hope in her heart, so that one day she would be completely liberated, not just physically, but also spiritually. Time flowed like water, and then, like a ray of light piercing through the thick darkness, the Buddha appeared in the world. While he was residing in Savatthi, a city glittering with lights and filled with the fragrance of lotus, a group of 100 merchants decided to embark on a promising adventure. They boarded a ship, their hearts full of hope, heading towards Suvarnabhumi, the land of gold and opportunity. But fate, like a mischievous artist, painted a completely different picture for their journey. In the middle of the vast sea, where the sky and ocean merged into one, a violent storm suddenly struck. The wind howled like countless tormented souls. Fierce waves surged like giant monsters from the deep sea. The small ship of the merchants became powerless against the terrifying force of nature, swept away like a leaf in a whirlwind. When dawn broke, the first sunlight shone upon a strange shore where the exhausted merchants had just drifted. They They opened their eyes, feeling the soft sand under their skin burning from seawater, and blinked in amazement at the scene before them. Amidst the misty haze of early morning, a golden palace appeared like a mirage in the desert, shimmering and mysterious enough to captivate the heart. But what stunned them most was the slender figure standing at the palace gates. It was a female ghost, but not the malevolent kind from legends. She possessed an otherworldly beauty, both alluring and sorrowful, like a rare flower blooming in a desolate land. Her long black hair flowed in the wind, like a delicate silk veil covering her naked form. The leader of the merchants, a man who had weathered many of life's storms, suddenly felt his heart race at this strange beauty. His eyes widened, filled with amazement and admiration. With a voice trembling with emotion, he spoke, his words echoing in the stillness of dawn. "O beautiful fairy, who are you to be hidden in this magnificent palace? Your beauty is such that even nature must admire it. Why do you not come out so that we may behold your heavenly countenance? Please, appear and show us your miraculous power." The female ghost, with eyes deep as 1,000 years of solitude, looked down at the group of merchants. Her voice rang out, gentle as the wind whispering through leaves, yet filled with an indescribable pain. "Sir, I am in a most miserable condition. I dare not come out because I am naked, without a shred of clothing to cover myself. I can only use my long hair to conceal my body. This is the consequence of my unethical actions in the past. Each day that passes, I must endure shame and regret, a constant reminder of my past mistakes." Her words touched the heart of the merchant. He could sense the pain and remorse in her voice. Moved with compassion for the ghost's pitiful situation, he quickly spoke, his voice full of warmth and understanding. "Do not worry, my lady. We will give you clothing. Please put it on to cover yourself, O beautiful one. We very much hope to behold your exquisite face and miraculous power. No one deserves to suffer such shame and pain forever." The female ghost, touched by the merchant's kindness, gave a sad smile. That smile was like moonlight piercing through dark clouds, carrying a faint ray of hope. She replied, her voice filled with gratitude. "Gentlemen, I am deeply moved by your kindness. Your compassionate hearts have warmed my frozen soul. However, anything you give me directly cannot help me. This is part of the karmic retribution I must bear. But fortunately, among you is a disciple with strong faith in the Buddha. If you could give clothing to this person and dedicate the merit to me, I will be blessed and may be able to escape this suffering. This is the only chance for me to be liberated." The female ghost's words were like a guiding light for the group of merchants. They looked at each other, their eyes filled with determination and compassion. Without hesitation, they began to act. Among them, a lay disciple with strong faith in the Buddha was chosen. The other merchants began a solemn ritual. They bathed him with clear seawater, anointed him with precious oils they had brought on their journey, and finally dressed him in a new set of clothes, the most beautiful among what they had. A solemn atmosphere enveloped the beach as they performed this ritual. The sound of waves lapping the shore seemed to blend with the prayer chants, the sea breeze gently blowing as if bearing witness to this noble act. All were focused on the pitiful female ghost, hoping that their actions would bring her liberation. In that moment, the boundary between human and ghost, between life and death, seemed to dissolve, leaving only warm human compassion and boundless mercy. The story of the female ghost and the group of merchants continued to unfold, narrated with vivid and emotional language. When the merchants completed the offering ritual, a miracle occurred before their eyes. The female ghost, once naked and ashamed, was now enveloped in a brilliant light. Delicate threads of fabric gradually appeared, wrapping around her slender form, creating a magnificent garment made from the finest Benares silk. The colors of the garment changed continuously, from the warm hues of sunset to the bright tones of dawn. As she stepped out of the palace, her beauty stunned the entire group of merchants. Her skin, once pale from hunger, now glowed with a rosy hue, fresh as newly bloomed peach blossoms. Her jet black hair, previously tangled and dry, now flowed smooth and glossy like a black stream in the moonlight. Her eyes, once filled with sadness and despair, now sparkled with happiness and deep gratitude. The radiant smile on her lips was like the dawn dispelling darkness, melting the hearts of all who witnessed it. She bowed her head, her hands gently clasped before her chest in a gesture of reverence and gratitude. Her voice, previously weak and trembling, now rang out like a bell chiming in the wind. "This is the result of the merit you have bestowed upon me through your offering. From the bottom of my heart, I express my deepest gratitude to you all." The merchants, still overwhelmed by her beauty and miraculous transformation, could not contain their curiosity. They looked around the palace, amazed by its magnificent beauty. The walls seemed to be woven from light, reflecting a myriad of brilliant colors. The high domed ceiling appeared to touch the sky, and every decorative detail was exquisitely crafted beyond belief. The surrounding space was filled with the sweet fragrance of lotus and sandalwood. A merchant, with eyes full of wonder, raised his voice to ask, "O divine lady, this palace is truly splendid and beautiful. It shines brilliantly and is full of vitality, as if created from the very essence of the universe. Please tell us, what karma has brought about this wonderful result for you?" The goddess, with eyes full of gratitude and a gentle smile on her lips, began to recount her story. Her voice was warm and melodious, as if narrating an ancient fairy tale. "In a past life, when I was just an ordinary girl in a small village, I was fortunate enough to encounter a wandering mendicant. He was a true monk, his soul filled with faith in the Dharma, his eyes radiating compassion and wisdom. One morning, as I was baking bread, I saw him walking along the village road seeking alms. Without hesitation, I offered him a sesame oil cake that I had just made, still warm and fragrant. As I placed the cake in his bowl, I felt an indescribable happiness. It is because of that small act of merit that I have been blessed to live in this magnificent palace for so long. This is the result of a portion of the merit I have accumulated." But then her face suddenly became sorrowful, as if a dark cloud had just obscured the sun. Her eyes, once sparkling, now filled with tears. She continued speaking, her voice full of worry and trembling. "However, I fear that my time of blessing is coming to an end. In just 4 months, I will have to face Yama, the lord of the realm of the dead. I will be cast down into the harsh realm of hell. There, I will have to endure the most terrible torments." As she began to describe hell, her voice became shaky and filled with fear. Each of her words seemed to carry the chill of the underworld. It is a place with 4 corners and 4 entrances, divided into many compartments in a balanced way, like a giant maze of suffering. Around it are iron walls, sturdy and towering to the sky, without a single gap for escape. Above is an iron roof, sealing off any ray of hope from entering. The floor of hell is made of red-hot iron, with flames burning fiercely, hot and blinding in all directions. The screams of suffering souls blend with the sound of burning fire to create a terrifying symphony. This hell exists eternally, stretching for hundreds of yojanas, like a wound that never heals in the heart of the universe. Her voice became pained as she continued, each word like a choked sob. "There, I will have to suffer for a long time, the consequence of the evil deeds I committed in the past. Every moment will be torture, every breath will be pain. That's why I can't stop crying and grieving. This fear constantly haunts me, never subsiding, like a ghost that clings and never leaves." The lay disciple's heart was filled with compassion. He looked at the goddess with eyes full of mercy, and in that moment, he felt her pain and fear as if it were his own. With a warm voice full of determination, he said, "O goddess, by the power of the offering you made to me, you have fulfilled all your wishes abundantly. But now, by offering to these lay disciples and remembering all the virtues of the teacher, you will escape rebirth in hell. Have faith in the power of good karma and the compassion of the Buddha. There is no darkness that the light of the Dharma cannot dispel." The lay disciple's words were like a ray of hope piercing through the veil of despair. The goddess felt a surge of positive energy course through her body, and a radiant smile once again bloomed on her lips. With a heart full of happiness and gratitude, she began to serve them various heavenly foods, clothing, and jewels. Each gift bore a supernatural beauty, as if created from the very essence of the celestial realm. Finally, she handed them a set of robes to offer to the Blessed One. These robes emitted a soft light, carrying the fragrance of lotus and sandalwood. She bowed respectfully, her eyes brimming with tears of emotion, and spoke in a solemn voice, Please go to Savatthi and pay homage to the Blessed One with these words I send. Lord, a female spirit bows her head at the feet of the Blessed One. Every word in this message contains my deep gratitude and boundless reverence for the Buddha. Then, with a dignified gesture, she exercised her divine power. The surrounding space suddenly vibrated gently, and a stream of golden light enveloped the ship. In the blink of an eye, the ship and the group of merchants were transported to a safe harbor, as swiftly and smoothly as a gentle breeze. The merchants, still overwhelmed by the wonders they had just witnessed, arrived on time to offer the gifts to the Blessed One. With hearts full of emotion and reverence, they recounted the entire story of their encounter with the goddess and the valuable lessons about karma they had learned. Buddhist teachings from the story Lesson 1: The Law of Cause and Effect and Karmic Retribution. The story vividly illustrates the law of cause and effect and karmic retribution in Buddhist teachings. The goddess, though enjoying heavenly blessings, still had to face the consequences of her past negative actions. This reminds us that every action, whether good or bad, has corresponding consequences. Nothing escapes the law of cause and effect. However, the story also shows the possibility of changing karmic retribution through the accumulation of merit and good deeds. The goddess's past act of offering a sesame oil cake brought her blessings, and her current offerings could help her avoid hell. This illustrates the teaching on the flexibility of karma and the ability to transform one's fate through virtuous actions. Lesson 2: Impermanence and the temporary nature of worldly happiness. The story also emphasizes the impermanence of all phenomena, including the joys and happiness in the heavenly realm. Despite living in a magnificent palace and enjoying celestial pleasures, the goddess still had to face the end of this life. This reminds us of the temporary nature of all states of existence within the cycle of birth and death. The goddess's anxiety and fear about the prospect of rebirth in hell also shows that even the joys in the heavenly realm are not true liberation. This is a vivid illustration of the Four Noble Truths, especially the truth about suffering, dukkha, and the origin of suffering, samudaya, emphasizing the need to seek a path of liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Lesson 3: The Power of Compassion and Wisdom. The story also highlights the important role of compassion and wisdom in helping others and liberating oneself. The lay disciple demonstrated compassion by listening to and comforting the goddess, while using wisdom to guide her on how to avoid rebirth in hell. This action illustrates the teaching of the Bodhisattva path, where practitioners not only seek liberation for themselves, but also strive to help other beings. This is also a manifestation of practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, especially right view, understanding the law of cause and effect correctly, and right thought, thinking with compassion and wisdom. Advice for application. Number 1. Be aware that each of our actions has consequences. Try to create good karma and avoid bad karma in daily life. Number 2. Recognize impermanence to avoid excessive attachment to temporary pleasures. Instead, focus on spiritual development and seeking sustainable happiness. Number 3. Practice compassion and wisdom by helping others, while continuously learning and applying Buddhist teachings in life. If you have learned profound lessons from this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful Buddhist stories on your journey to peace. Leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts on the lesson you like the most. How do you feel about the actions of the characters in the story? How would you apply these lessons to your life? Or, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please comment. We look forward to hearing from you. Wishing you peace and happiness.